So I represent Businessworld. My name is Noor, as said earlier. I am part of the list of people in Businessworld who keep wondering, why do lawyers love Sundays, and why must you make us work on a Sunday? So I'm pretty much the outsider here, but we have an excellent group of experts who are going to take on a rather interesting topic for an outsider such as myself, which is how do you restructure in-house legal departments? As an outsider, somebody who has just watched the space at the very least, we have often wondered the way large multinational companies have appointed general counsels over a period of time and the areas where they have made a difference, whether it was M&A, whether it was because of the whole new section of codes that have been evolving and newer kind of compliances that is coming in play, and essentially they contribute to bottom line ultimately. And then all of my questions are from the point of view as an outsider. Unlike the other panelists, we didn't discuss. So unfortunately for them, they're going to get the journalist instead of like a pure moderator. Let's just get on to it. Our topic is, how do you make them more efficient? Now, unfortunately, that kind of implies that it's not very efficient at the moment. So I just want to get a sense on how do you actually look at evolving? And, I'm hoping everybody can weigh in a little bit on this. How are you looking at evolving your structure within the company? Some of the things that you might have done recently, given everything is haywire, there is geopolitical problems, cross borders have increased, compliances are going crazy because every day one regulatory body has a new thing to announce. So I don't want to do a death by panel kind of a thing over here. So, we'll just, Hemant sir, why don't you begin?
Do you want to establish any law firm or legal department in your business?
Do I want to establish
then
it?
If I suggest something, I will charge fees for that.
Nahi, bahut shukriya. Now you know. I'm the journalist. Do you know how much we get paid?
Yeah, one should be very careful about the journalist also. See, according to me, this topic consists of two parts: restructuring and efficiency. See, restructuring depends on many factors. Say in L&T is a huge business. And it depends on the pocket size of your legal department. Budget is also important. So if you have a huge organization, then depending on the nature of your business, you need to have legal department, in-house department. Efficiency is a very interesting subject, I tell you. In my view, I joined the law officer through All India recruitment in 1985. In the State Bank of India, the scale one officer. So I was the peon there, I was the steno there, I was the law officer there. So that time there was no concept of having a secretary or clerk. Now today in L&T, efficiency, according to me, depends on the GC efficiency. Now, what do you mean by GC efficiency? The role of GC, we have discussed a lot. It has changed in the last 3 decades. GC role is today not only to defend the company interest or M&A or something like this. Yeah, these are the roles there for, according to me, a company like L&T, 40 or 50%. 50% of our time goes in various type of other issues. Say, for example, every day you are getting so much so-called notices. So you need to address it. And address it on time. I give you one example. At my previous organization, one ED notice was not addressed for some reason 6 months. And he issued unnecessary so many letters asking the chairman to appear. So there was a GC problem. GC means GC has to act immediately. Second thing is, to make your in-house department more efficient, what I practice is, in the last 20 years, whether he's an assistant law officer or he's a general manager law, I spend time every month, at least half an hour. I go into deep, because if I have recruited somebody from LLU or I spend time for at least 15, 20, especially with the youngster. Second thing is, this is very common. GC should speak only business manager language. If you ask, locus standi nahi hai, constructive res judicata, then business people will just kill you. And they are also very smart because they are also highly qualified. Third important thing is that you should clearly define the roles and responsibility of each individual. Once you define the roles and give them complete freedom in the sense, let them express their views. I have seen a couple of in my team recently joined, and they have fantastic ideas. So 3 years, 4 years. There are many other things I would like to share, but I want to hear my other co-panelists also. But
thank you.
It comes from it depends on the efficiency of the GC first. How GC reacts, that is important. If suppose a mail comes from my guy sitting in Trichapalli, if you don't attend the mail for 10 days, I don't see you are fit for GC. You must immediately admit at least. If some notice comes from the DRT or anywhere, you must at least acknowledge that, yeah, we are working on it. So GC should also communicate to the peers, to subordinates, that these are the way to handle the matter. And the most important thing what I miss in most of my colleagues, when you are discussing with the board of directors some of the issue, and they pass on the message to you, you must pass on those messages to your team members. That is very important.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, it's a very good panel because, of course, L&T, massive scale. There is Deloitte that we have with us. Your entire job is to kind of keep an eye out on scale of other companies as well. Then, of course, we have Stryker somewhere in the middle, and then we have Freshworks more on the startup side. So we have different point of views coming here. And, of course, the cue was right. My next question is to Suresh. Just give me a sense over here. You know, Mr. Kumar kind of alluded to the attitude that one must kind of bring to the table, especially when you're thinking restructuring and efficiency. But the way you would look at it, technology is going crazy at the moment. And there's a lot of pressure because of that on other departments as well. So now when you look at how technology is being embraced within your department, say as customer zero of that, how do you look at that working harder to increase your performance?
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. See, I think,
Keep it close.
yeah, regardless of what role we play, whether we are lawyers, whether we are, other professionals, I think it's incredibly important for all of us to embrace technology and work with it. And the way I like to look at technology is that something that doesn't subsume you, but something that you leverage to help you become a lot more efficient. So now apply this to the legal department. How do you then leverage on technology? One of the key things that I found to be incredibly helpful is technology helps you to achieve one of the things that Hemant Kumar mentioned, which is that to get the information across to people. For example, if you're using a good quality contract lifecycle management solution, what you're in effect doing is to empower your team to have the access to past references, to have access to even what has been agreed with the client so that you don't end up negotiating multiple times with the same client, and then give that power to people so that they are able to function in a structured manner within the parameters. You have playbooks which you can embed into the technology and get the best out of technology to boost the efficiency. So I clearly see technology as a highly empowering thing. And, not just in contracting, if you look at legal case management, I mean, use of technology really helps to drive efficiency both within and with the law firms that you work with, so that, you're able to have a much, much better visibility, control, and are able to drive that efficiency.
Excellent. An excellent segue for me, because Kanika, I wanted you to take on the next question, which was exactly that. It is estimated by outsiders such as myself that there is a certain amount of work that happens in-house before you actually, go to your advisor or to the legal firms that you're working with. Now, over a period of, and I really want to say over the period of last couple of years post-pandemic, essentially, how is this equation kind of changing? I mean, is is restructuring of your in-house department in a way applicable over here, wherein your relationship with the law firm also changes over time? Your experience on this?
I think it's very true.
Just close to your mouth. That's fine.
Am I audible?
Not really. Is it her mic? Yeah, it just has to be close to your mouth.
See, I think there is a huge paradigm shift the way in-house was working before, and now the in-house is expected to work post-pandemic. There's been disruption, global disruptions. There's been a change in terms of the operating model that the business was working on. Business is expecting quick responses. The
Yes.
TAT is definitely going down. There are high complex issues at stake. They cannot really wait until a particular matter is outsourced. They expect that generalists and subject matter experts are pretty much prevalent within in-house team itself. And for that purpose, restructuring is very critical. How do we make sure that the team that you have within the in-house, is it equipped to answer the kind of questions that would be posed to you? Whether your approach is proactive, whether your approach is reactive, at what point in time are you getting integrated with the business? Is it only, say, the execution of the contract, or you're really part of, say, like, sitting through business strategies, trying to work through some of the business aspects? As Sir mentioned, it's not only about, just talking about the law language, right? The business folks are very smart. They want you to understand their business absolutely well. So from that standpoint, your question is very, very relevant today, because traditionally, high complex issue, outsource it to a law firm. But now, maybe, the ask is different. Of course, law firms and in-house will continue to work together. But at the same time, I think the focus needs to, within the team itself, it needs to be such that we are driving some of the changes within, and everything is just not getting outsourced. So that's my point of view, but very relevant question in today's time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kanika. Of course, it all points that Pranav, you're next. Again, it's a fairly young company in your case. I'm not sure how much I would want you to focus on the restructuring part of it, but just kind of taking a cue from, what everybody has mentioned so far. In today's day and time, we had a session earlier today that looked at data. Before that, it was ESG and, how legal compliance comes in that. Now, when you look at your own in-house departments and the constantly changing fabric outside, how do you ensure you're on top of it, your people are on top of it, and the skill sets that you're adding therefore?
So consolidating all that has been said since morning, I think there are a couple of takeaways from people in a very straightforward, but in a very concise manner. I think the first thing that a GC looks at, even before joining, is how many entities am I going to be controlling or I'm going to be heading. So entity management is like the first issue that has to be tackled, because you don't know how many entities are there in the system globally. You don't know how many are there in India, what kind of compliance issues could be, or non-compliance to begin with. Then the second, when you've understood, like, there are 15 companies all over the world, there are 3 which are being merged, there are 2 which is voluntarily being wound up, there are 5 that is not functional, just acquired, but there's nothing left. After all, you've done your diligence, you now move on to how many people in the team. So people management, and people management is just not just people as in your team, your in-house team. Counsel management, your career conversations with them. You want them to stay, you want them to achieve something better, you want them to show your path of being there where they want them to be seen. Somebody wants to become a privacy professional, somebody wants to become a GC, somebody wants to become a expert in some area. So you need to develop those career paths if you want the next level, which is process management. Without people, you can't be doing process management to begin with. So process management within the internal legal side, how are you going to be intaking those requests? How are you going to be servicing those requests? Email that will come almost every 2 minutes. Notices that will come, litigation that's happening. That's all matter management, right? Case management. Then you have a lot of expertise within the team. So that's information management, right? And then over the top, you have governance, which you're talking about the board. You're wanting to highlight what is going on in legal. What should the board know? What should the board can probably ignore at the time that it's not fully built with. So I think there are a lot of things that happen within the legal team. But the main task is what I call is service management, because when you're business side, when you're the MBA, when you're in marketing or when you're in sales, you don't need to know what's going inside the legal team. You are looking at मैंने contract भेजा था उसका क्या हुआ, right? And why is it taking so long? So service management, how can you reduce the time of redlining? How can you build efficiencies within the system that everybody redlines the same way? Not that if a person's gone on leave and the contract has come back, two people should not be redlining differently, right? Because then it doesn't go well with the vendor or with the partner. So, playbooks that ways kind of help. Then you have what she said was whether the reaction is proactive or reactive. Like proactives, you will already be having some kind of question as FAQs built in the system wherein you don't need to address it very regularly. Reactive could be those questions which are not coming out of daily usage, but if there's a trend, you can probably be proactive. So there's a lot that happens within the in-house team. We're not a startup anymore. We're NASDAQ listed, so our governance model is even more than what we had about 2 years back. And the quarterly updates, the quarterly earnings call kind of reflect on us as to what could be made better.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is big picture. I know my journalists will be very happy right now because they got this story. But now I need 1 point from all of you on specific to what you have done within your company. Any change, 1 or 2 steps that you have taken to improve the efficiency of your system that kind of, connects back to this restructuring part. Yes, Mr. Kumar wants to go first.
Morning, I think Kunal was telling that GC has is not empowered to argue before the arbitration and before the court. My dear friend, this is not a correct statement. Read section 32 of the Advocate Act. Indeed, I have already started this practice for the last 15 years. I have been arguing before the tribunal, arbitration tribunal. I am not engaging any law firm. I am appearing before the court. Even my predecessor, who was the GM law, ED law of SAIL, he used to appear before Supreme Court. So section 32 of the Advocate Act provides you move an application, and the tribunal and court will be very happy that, oh, GC is arguing. Oh, you argue the matter. And the other side will think, oh, he is a GC, he may not argue properly. So number one, that change I have made. I have allowed my youngster, let me tell you, because I have to create my future in the L&T. I do not think that I will continue ever. So if youngsters are there, unless you allow them to take responsibility, take decision, give them full liberty, you see the result. And anything goes wrong, GC must take on his shoulder. Then you would see the result in the department. And that is paying to us in the L&T. Second thing what I have done is say, every month, for 6 hours, 7 hours, whether you are busy in any part, you have to be there in one room, one conference room, and 6 hours we only discuss international latest development, law point, even not related to L&T business. L&T is currently operating in 62 countries and different, but which are not even relevant. Say, Ayodhya judgment was pronounced. This was not relevant for L&T, but we discuss it because some of the issue decided in the Ayodhya judgment, say, what was the judgment, the Supreme Court reversed, that the relief they sought before the Allahabad High Court, that was not decided. But a panchayati was done that this land was divided into 3 parts. It was never a prayer. So Supreme Court says, when there was no prayer, there was no pleading, how can you grant such a relief? So these are the basic thing. And if you allow the youngster, your team member, to take the responsibility, I think that will give a wonderful result in the organization.
Excellent. Suresh, you want to go next?
Sure. I kind of echo the point that Hemant Kumar made, which is that to empower the team. But what I tend to do is that, you see, there's a balance that you need to draw between empowering the team and achieving a consistent output. Yeah. Which is that, how do you ensure that regardless of which touch point the business has within your team, you have a consistent level of output. So what I tend to do is to have a sort of standard forms or have periodic discussions on how do you handle these kind of things, build playbooks, so that you at least you cut down the number of times people have to come back to you to check something, so that they know that, okay, fine, if I'm playing within these parameters, I'm good. So it cuts down the TAT, and everybody's happy about it. And I echo about it that, okay, look, as if you're sitting in the hot seat of a GC, you better also be prepared to take responsibility, for what happens. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Kanika.
Okay, I'll just go back to the point that I'd made earlier. From my perspective, how I operate the team is I want to make sure that we don't qualify ourselves as mere lawyers. We qualify ourselves as business partners. So from that perspective, I think the ground rule for myself and the team is just to make sure that we are with the changing times, and we are making sure that we understand the business as it changes. The landscape is changing heavily around us, and we need to understand how the business is operating, what are the challenges, what are some of the solutions that the business is looking at. Because there's a lot of difference between, say, our on-ground reality, how the business can operate, and a law book. And the business, when they come into the legal team, they're looking for practical solutions. So from that perspective, the ground rule first is just speak the language of business. Once you start understanding what the business really wants to drive, I think half of the problem is solved. That's one. That is within the team. But from business perspective, the ask is very clear. If you want a practical solution, you have to integrate the team at the right time. You can't expect the team to come at a later point in stage when most of the strategy is developed and then expect solutioning for it. So it's very important from that perspective for every team member of mine to proactively get there, get integrated with the business, to make sure that we are able to drive the change that we want to see at the right time. And it's not too late, because there are certain, then it becomes the risk appetite question. What is the risk appetite? Once you come in at a later stage, it's always about, okay, how much of a risk that this business can take. And we don't want to dwell. We want to table out all the risk upfront itself and accordingly have the discussion. And as everybody mentioned, I completely echo the thoughts. Standardization. Try to the extent it's possible, because there's no one solution that can fit all sorts of problems. So very, very much aware of that. And then we approach the business queries or issues, challenges accordingly.
Excellent. So, Pranav, before you take it, I'm going to tell you this you can't repeat right now. So what Mr. Kumar has said, that one, empower your people and then stand behind them so that they know what they're talking about. And of course, he has mentioned about getting everybody together so that you can understand what's going on, whether or not it directly impacted you. And then, take your learnings from there. And of course, Suresh has kind of echoed that, but he has also talked about creating some kind of a guardrail so that people know exactly what is the periphery they are playing in, and then therefore work from there, which, helps in improving efficiency, cut down on the TAT and, the to's and fro's. And Kanika has brought a couple of things over here, beginning with also should be inclusive when you are strategizing or when you're creating what your rule book or your playbook should look like. Get more voice in so that they also know what's going on. The ground rule, therefore, also is understand the business. So look at yourself as a partner to the firm versus being the lawyer. And, again, points that were made earlier, you're not talking legal language over there, you're talking the business language so that people can actually understand you. The decoding happens at your level, at the back end. Now, these are the things that you cannot talk about, and then tell us what are some of the things that you are doing to drive efficiency in your team.
That's why we kind of have a love-hate relationship with journalists, because they don't let you speak anything that's already been spoken, and they kind of briefly summarize that people might have forgotten also. That puts me in a very difficult spot, but lawyer being a lawyer and,
Good competition.
Correct. I'll put a perspective. I think each one of them said the right thing. They're all coming with a lot of experience. The consolidated experience on this panel alone is, I think, more than total of 100 years plus maybe. Right. So I am saying. So I think it's very difficult to say, I don't believe in this. I believe in everything that has been said. Not only that I believe, I also execute everything that's been said because it's very necessary to be doing all those factors. But the perspective is go deep dive into legal operations. Focus on legal operations. Once you've done that, made a strategy, have a vision, it'll help you in the next 3 to 5 years. You won't have to change it. You'll just have to keep on tweaking it. You won't have to make a lot of difference between what's being done. You just have to make things efficient. You'll probably understand how educated your stakeholders are that are coming to you. Are they coming for, let's say, menial things? Educate them, make the portals, make them aware, do the trainings. They won't come you for NDAs and all. They'll just probably pick up the form themselves, get it signed, place it in the folder that has to be done. You are totally out until unless somebody sends a red line. You make a threshold. Beyond that maybe a threshold value or a object, we won't negotiate. So you're again out. On employment side as well, you probably understand what kind of issues are there. If these are general issues, you probably make a portal wherein people can look at those questions if those are being asked. So you can do many things that can help legal team not getting involved into daily matters which doesn't require that legal expertise, and then they can focus on very, very highly sophisticated things like AI, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, because that's all going into products right now as I speak. So, like I said, career conversations are important, but those conversations can only happen if you have the time for the team to be looking at things that are really in the market, not only what they're doing at the moment.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you so much. We have a couple of minutes. If anybody has a question, you can raise your hand and we can get a mic to you. Otherwise, I'm going to ask my last question to Mr. Kumar. I would like him to take the last question from me. Since I don't see any raised hands, I'm just going to go ahead and ask my question last couple of minutes. Was there? Oh, excellent. Do introduce yourself. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I want to understand from this esteemed speakers, what is the ratio of counsels versus the total headcount, or with respect to the ratio of turnover, how many counsels are required in a company? Or
what should be the team size?
Yeah, team size.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We're about 5,500 people globally and 15 lawyers globally. We're NASDAQ listed. Yeah. We have that much efficiency.
We all feel bad for you right now.
No, don't feel bad. There's a lot of tech that's helping our stakeholders at the moment. I don't need to get involved into everything.
The general rule of the thumb, of course, it will vary depending upon what industry and how much of a legal intensive team that you need. Typically, you go by 1 lawyer per 1,000 employees. That's a very good rule of the thumb. But it depends upon the industry. It depends upon how intense your negotiations are going to be and how non-standardized. For example, if you're into a subscription business, you might be able to do with a much smaller ratio.
Thank you so much, Suresh.
See, my view is that the nature of business. I again come to the L&T where I'm working. So if you are in telecom, you are finance, you are defense, you are construction, you are hydrocarbon, you are power. So headcounts is not important for me. The more important thing for me is, say a guy is there who is ready to take the responsibility of mining matter. A guy who is there who can deal with power matter. Law for everything, substantive law is the same, but some of the special law. So that depends on the nature of business, size of business, and turnover of the business. That is very important. But one caution is, don't make as a big crowd. Limited number, clear, defined roles. And allow them to take decisions. These are the 3 fundamental things I tell you will give you excellent result. Last 20 years I have exercised. If you are getting some information from board of director and you are sitting in the boardroom and you are not passing on to your subordinates, how the subordinate will understand what you have discussed in the board member, and tomorrow you say, oh, this was the call. No. So once you finish the board meeting, you discuss all the minutes of the meeting with your team members. And never think in-house counsel is only a service provider. It is a profit earning center. Once you think that it is profit earning center, just count your deliverable. How much money you have saved for the company and translate in the terms of money during in our company, there is nothing like monthly MIS. Let me add that way. I'm very fortunate. Every time, show me the mine. Even one adjournment, if case is adjourned, it is given after 4 months. So what you are going to hear from me? Sir, matter adjourned or only date given. So MIS is fine, but according to me, productivity, deliverable is more important than MIS. Second thing is, the GC, please note it, your networking with Attorney General, Advocate General, Law Secretary, Additional Solicitor General, Public Prosecutor, these are very, very relevant. Today I met Attorney General after seeking appointment. So this is also very important. Tomorrow, so you have engaged a law firm. Law firm, suppose for some reason not getting appointment from XYZ top Supreme Court lawyer. You should be there that, sir, I'm Mr. So-and-so, I'm also trying. And if you try, I hope that you will get the appointment. So these are the things which slowly you try to develop in your day-to-day routine. And not to depend completely on the outsourcing everything. Try to take the responsibility and show the management that we can also deliver what you can get it from outside.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. I can see my team over there has given me like 7 to 8 signals already on Time's Up. Time's Up. May I please request everybody here to applaud for these wonderful people. Thank you so much.